What is going on, everyone? This is Eric coming at you from just outside of Hartford, Connecticut, and today we are going to continue looking at the 2021 MLB season, division by division. This video will be focusing on the AL West. So we're going to start off by discussing the division-winning Houston Astros, who went 95-67. Now, Houston had one of, if not the best offense in baseball this season. Their pitching staff was also above average, all things considered. Now, going to the offense, Carlos Correa had an amazing year. It ever so happened to occur during a contract year. Ideal for him, but not for the Astros. He's probably leaving the team. Kyle Tucker stepped up and filled in the shoes that George Springer left when he walked as a free agent. Players such as Jose Altuve, Yuli Gurriel, and Yordan Alvarez were all among the better players at their respective positions as well. Unfortunately, Alex Bregman missed about half the season with injuries, while Michael Brantley also dealt with the injury bug at times. Despite this, players such as Aledmys Diaz and Jose Siri filled in and contributed at some key points during the season. So they had the help. While the starting rotation certainly missed Justin Verlander, who did not pitch at all due to Tommy John surgery, other names stepped up. Zach Greinke and Lance McCullers Jr. both filled in their respective roles as strong starting pitchers, with Lance in particular stepping up and filling the role. Framber Valdez, who was originally feared to miss the entire season, came back in late May and pitched amazingly. It was almost as if that finger issue didn't hurt him at all. Luis Garcia stepped up and played well enough that he's in the running for Rookie of the Year, the results of which will be announced later today. Christian Javier played well, but he was pushed to a relief role due to the amount of arms that Houston had. Speaking of the bullpen, Ryan Pressly served as one of the better closers in baseball for the second consecutive year. While the 2021 season may not have ended as they had hoped, as they would lose in the World Series, Houston has to be happy about what they did this year. They continue to try to push the cheating scandal to the side. However, even the most devout fans have to realize that the championship window is closing, and fast. The core is aging, and Correa, like I said, is probably going to walk as a free agent. Verlander and Greinke are both also free agents. Expect one final run in 2022. In second place, we had the Seattle Mariners, and I honestly cannot explain how the Mariners won 90 games this year. They were a fun and exciting team to watch, but every statistic says that they should have been below 500. They had a minus 51 run differential. Now, all good stories usually start with a solid offense in baseball. Ty France was pegged as a potential breakout candidate this year, and he did deliver. Speaking of breakouts and rebounds, Mitch Haniger was a force at the plate as he was able to rebound from his completely missed, essentially, 2020 season and 2019 seasons. So, now Kyle Seager managed to have one last good year for the Mariners before his contract expired as well. J.P. Crawford may not have excelled, but he was at least a very consistent bat. Abraham Toro played well after he was acquired at the deadline, and while Jared Kelenic may not have been a superstar, he is only 21 years old and a rookie. It's safe to say he will rebound for 2022. Now, Kyle Lewis missed the majority of the season due to injuries, but other than him and Jake Fraley, who struggled, there are not any true disappointments for the team, at least offensively. Chris Flexen seemingly came out of nowhere this year, and he was this team's best starter. I guess spending 2020 in the KBO really helped him out. Marco Gonzalez also looked great at times. Logan Gilbert flashed his potential as well, but he also struggled. But that could be the case for most rookies, especially pitchers. The exact same thing could be said about Yusei Kikuchi, although he was red hot before the All-Star break and he cooled off after. Paul Sewell and Drew Steckenrider shared the closing role and both played well. Kendall Graveman looked amazingly awesome until they shipped him off the deadline in the deal that got them Toro. The team will be competing next year, that's a fact. The only questions that remain, though, are the pitching rotation and the contract of Kyle Seager. In third place, we had the Oakland Athletics, who would go 86-76. Now, Oakland hung around in the playoff race until the last week of the season, when they were swept by the Mariners, which effectively ended their season. This team has a blend of positives and negatives. Let's start with the offense. Matt Olson had an amazing bounce-back year. He looked great and put his rough 2020 in the rearview mirror. Ramon Laureano looked great too, until he caught an 80-game PED suspension that ended his season early. However, the team would acquire Starling Marte, and he was a spectacular player for the Astros. Matt Chapman hit some homers, but other than that, he was very inconsistent and a bit of a letdown. However, players coming off of the specific hip surgery that he needed usually have a very difficult first year back. So there is hope. Elvis Andrus was a big disappointment for the team, however. And while Sean Murphy may not have been a star offensively, he, along with Matt Chapman, won Gold Gloves. Pitching was where this team made its mark. Frankie Montas had a great year, looking like his 2019 self. Chris Bassett built on his successful 2020 season, but a scary comebacker in August limited him during the final stretch. Sean Manaea, James Caprillion, and even Cole Irvin, surprisingly, all had solid seasons on the mound too. However, Jesus Luzardo played so poorly for the team that they demoted him and eventually traded him away. Such a fall from grace. Lou Trevino played well as a closer. Now, Oakland may be nearing the end of their window to complete. Longtime manager Bob Melvin left the team, and the Mats, Olsen and Chapman, are 2 years away from free agency. It may be time to look at stocking a weaker farm system and embrace the rebuild. In fourth place, we have the Los Angeles Angels, who would go 77-85. Now, the 2021 LA Angels will be remembered for two reasons: Shohei Ohtani's elite, once-in-a-lifetime season, and numerous injuries. First thing is first, how amazing was Shohei Ohtani? Honestly, this must be what it was like to watch Babe Ruth play, although Ohtani did it in a much more difficult era, and he hit and pitched well in the same season. His season was stuff of legends, honestly. We will be telling our grandchildren about the 2021 Shohei Ohtani season. He was far and away easily the best player in the Angels this year, and he should be taking some hardware home tomorrow to prove it. It's just amazing how talented he is. I've been a fan of him for a while, and I'm happy to see him have this great of a year. I hope he can remain healthy from here on out, and that he can play a two-way game. With my Ohtani conversation out of the way, let's look at the rest of the team. Jared Walsh started off the season on an absolute tear. However, he cooled off as the season progressed. Max Stassi improved as a catcher this season too. And Mike Trout looked like the superstar that he is. The only problem, though, is that he would only play in 36 games before a calf injury struck him down and ended his season early. Anthony Rendon was solid, but he was limited to less than 60 games due to hip issues. Even Dexter Fowler was looking good until he tore his ACL 7 games into the year. That was a sign of things to come. At least Joe Adell looked better than he did last year, and Brandon Marsh made his debut for the club. Albert Pujols' tenure with the team came to an unceremonious end as he was released in early May due to struggles and the bad contract that he had. But could have been worse. Pitching-wise, the Angels had their moments. Ohtani, alongside being the team's best hitter, was the team's best pitcher. He was electric, but I already gushed over him. Jose Suarez, Alex Cobb, and Patrick Sandoval all look solid this year too. I'm happy Cobb made it through the entire season relatively healthy. The Angels need to have a long, hard look at themselves in the mirror this offseason. The offense is there, but the pitching needs to be addressed, especially since Cobb may walk. They also need to see if they can figure out what's going on with these injuries and if they just have damaged goods or if there's something going on with the training. Now in last place, we had the Texas Rangers, who went 60-102. We all knew the Rangers were going to be bad in 2021. I'm just happy that they finally embraced the rebuild. Rookie Adolis Garcia had a strong season, and he was the team's best player that survived the trade deadline purge. Nate Lowe was solid as well. He doesn't provide too much power for a first baseman, but he does have a high enough average that he kind of supplements that. Isaiah Kiner-Flefa also had a solid season, and Andy Ibanez was a strong player off the bench. However, pretty much everyone else either belonged to the minors or deserves to be a backup on most teams. Nick Solak entered the season with high hopes, but he failed to impress and actually spent some time in AAA. Joey Gallo was this team's best player, all things considered, but they traded him away at the deadline. Now, besides Kyle Gibson, who was dealt at the deadline, every Rangers starting pitcher was bad. They all had an ERA north of 4.5. Ian Kennedy started off as a closer, but he was traded alongside Gibson. Joe Barlow stepped in after Kennedy left. Frankly, there isn't much to say about the Rangers. They will be rebuilding now, if it wasn't clear. So, yeah. Now, all things considered, this division was interesting. So, we all kind of had Houston winning it, and like I said, they really have one more year to compete, but they had a solid 6-7 year championship window. They got themselves their first ever ring in 2017. You know, the cheating scandal aside, you got to respect what they did. Seattle, your window is just beginning. I think, like I said, I think you're going to be competing next year. It's going to be tough. The problem for you is it depends on what Oakland does and how Houston's doing. But like I said, I think Houston's going to make one last push, so that will hurt Seattle next year. Still, though, they have a lot of talent in the farm. Oakland, I don't know what you're going to do. With the fact that they don't like paying their free agents a lot of money, I think you got to embrace the rebuild. I think you got to deal away Matt Olson as much as it hurts. But hold on to him until after the CBA, just in case the NL implements the designated hitter, which would be a dream because then Olson's value goes up. Angels, look, I mean, I don't know if you have damaged goods or if there's just what's going on with that, but every player on that team gets hurt. You're like the Eagles, I hate to say it. And I'm sure Mike Trout was rolling his eyes at me for saying that, but it's the truth. You know, it's how you are, it's how you play. You got all the injuries, you got all the talent, but you got all these injuries. Shohei Ohtani, though, when he eventually wins MVP, and I'm saying that he will win it, he deserves it. One heck of a season. Texas, you guys, we knew you were going to be last place. At least your stadium got to host the World Series last year. Now, how did I have this division going? I had Houston winning it all, well, the division, and being the 3 seed in the AL. I had Los Angeles sneaking in the playoffs as a 5 seed, so yeah, that didn't happen. I had Oakland finishing 3rd, I had Seattle finishing 4th, and I had Texas in last. I hope you guys enjoyed this. This was the AL West recap. Have a good rest of your day.